If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyl and Derek Caldwell of the Hoyl Financial Group. There is no shortage of what's in the headlines right now, what's going on overseas, how it's impacting all of us here. We'll get to that in just a moment. But as always, Steve, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, thanks. Tough place out there. We've got the crazy war going on. No matter if you vote red, blue, or purple, it's just sad and it's just devastating. But, we're going to make the best of every day, and that's all we can do, Jess.
Yeah, that's all we can do. And, speaking of what's going on overseas and the impact it's having on our economy, our goods, our oil, our potential different things, plastic, you name it, there's different talk about the prices increasing. These are things we can't control. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to market volatility, we've been talking about that a lot recently, Steve. The one thing that we all have in common with the market is that we do not like uncertainty. The market doesn't like uncertainty, right? And when this happens, it's kind of tough to sit back and watch that wave kind of go up and down of the market, and you have to make that decision. Are you going to ride that wave? Do you have a plan in place to help protect your income? And what should you do, Steve? I mean, a lot of folks put their head in the sand and hope for the best.
It's crazy, Jess. Our phones are ringing off the wall. People are coming and saying, I've listened to you for a long time. We've read about you. Our neighbors have dealt with you. My third, fifth cousin does business with you, but we want to talk. We're right now a couple weeks out for new appointments to sit down with someone because the rubber's hit the road. People realize you've always heard that a war is good for the economy. Well, it may be good for the economy, but it's not good for mom and pa, retirees. Derek Caldwell always makes fun of me about fuel, but Jess, fuel's 75 cents to $1 higher to go fill up today. And that's going to affect the cost of goods for a really long time, Jess.
Yeah, I was driving by a couple gas stations just going, oh my gosh, when is it going to stop going up? Just stop ticking up. Are we going to get to the point to where we were, gosh, it feels like yesterday where it was almost $5, if not more, dollars a gallon. And gone are the days. I was talking to somebody, I remember as a kid, my mom would give me a $5 bill and I'd run into the counter and give it to the guy. And that $5 filled up her gas tank. We're never going to get back to that, but it just makes you realize in perspective how much the prices of goods have changed over the past 30, 40 years.
It has. And, Jess, what's going on, people watching the media, all this war stuff really affects them differently. I drove from my Dallas office to Amarillo, and I've worked here a couple days this week. And, when I stopped in Childress, Texas to fill up there's a Walmart there, and they have these Murphy gas pumps. And I filled up this lady, and she was there for 2 seconds and topped off her car. And I said, well, that didn't take long. And she said, I'm now getting fuel every day. I said, really? And she said, yeah, I don't drive it a couple miles, but I'm so worried that there's not going to be any fuel. I can remember from the early days. And so this war and all this affects people in different ways. And she said, by filling up every day, I've just known I'm doing the best I can do. And she said, I've been stocking up on goods, like toilet paper, paper towels, soap, all these different things. She said, I kind of focus on something different every day, looking around my house, what I need. So, there's a lot of fear, and people really don't know what to do. And, we're having people's loved ones getting killed over there, and here we're short on Tomahawk missiles, and you don't know what to believe. And our president said that one time that the war was going to be really short, and then, something else. I don't know what it is, but I just will tell you that we need to band together. We need to love one another, but we need to get our head out of the sand and get a review to know if we're ready for retirement or not. Because, Jess, with this war going on, some people may need 18 to 20% more money or more income in retirement. And everybody talks so much, Jess, about the fear of running out of money. Well, I'm going to tell you that is the number one fear, but let's break that down. The real fear is running out of income, having sustainable, dependable, predictable income each and every month. Earlier today, Jess, had a guy come in and we kind of did a re-strategy change. We kind of did a move with his money, and we did some great things. And he works for the Postal Service, and he has a TSP. And he said first he didn't want to move it. And then we started looking at the numbers. And Jess, how much money he had lost in the last couple of weeks, and asked him, what does this money losing mean to you? So many people are acting out of fear, but we have to sit down and break it down and come up with a plan and be strategic about it, Jess. Let's don't react on fear. I love to talk about fear because it really makes me sad for people. 2008 correction, we kind of had it 2007, then bad in 2008, that whole mess. Had a guy come see us, and he was an engineer. And I tell this story all the time because he was put a plan together. We were getting ready for retirement. He was a couple weeks away from retiring after all these years. He was widowed. And Jess, the day the market corrected, that it fell so bad, he walked in and sold everything that he had. He did the knee-jerk reaction. And you know what, Jess? He worked 5 more years to make up for that. So we had been telling him, and I tell people this all the time, you dollar cost average in the market. And what I mean by that is every time you get paid or every month, you buy more and more as you grow your IRA, your 401k, your different investment options. You want to do the same thing and you want to exit out the same way over time. And I tell people all the time for do-it-yourselfers, one wrong decision can wreck your financial strategy. So I'm going to tell the listeners today, if you're within 5 years of retirement or retired in the next 5 years, you're in the retirement red zone. And one huge mistake can wipe out everything that you've worked for. So pick up the phone and call us today. Let's really sit down or go to our website, Retire Texas Style. But let's look at what you've done. Do you have a plan, or is that plan to fail or fail to plan? That's not a plan. And having a 401k is not a plan, Jess. That's an investment vehicle. So call us. Let's sit down. We'll make room on our calendar for you.
Now, Steve, this is kind of fun. I ran across a list on Instagram that talked about the familiar products that took off because customers used them the wrong way. Get this, Listerine, right? It apparently was a disinfectant before someone started using it as mouthwash in the 1920s.
Ugh.
Just how does that conversation go? Like you're in the cleaning closet, you got bleach, you got all this stuff, and they go, this looks good. Let me put this in my mouth,
Oh, it's crazy. I don't like Listerine. I can't stand the smell or the taste. I think it's nasty. But for people, love it.
Yeah, well, it was a disinfectant.
Now
and,
they have those little
strong.
bitty tabs that
Yeah.
you put in your mouth. I mean, think how much somebody made off of that.
Oh, my gosh. Why wasn't that my idea?
Exactly.
Gosh, talk about income for life. Play-Doh was originally used to clean wallpaper in the 1930s. That I literally picture like the stay-at-home wife, whatever, with the apron. It just has like pink Play-Doh, and there she is scrubbing the walls.
Play-Doh is funny. My kids loved Play-Doh, and I hated Play-Doh because it would get down in the seats.
Oh, yeah.
It was just everywhere. They're just left over. They were messy with it. And, the Play-Doh disappeared. Susan would say, where's the Play-Doh? I have no idea. Yeah, I do. It's the trash. It's the dumpster. It's funny when you think about Play-Doh and kids being messy, Jess. Not to get off here, but this weekend I kept McKay, my granddaughter, and I walked into the bathroom that she and her mom use, and there was markings on the tile with like a marker.
Oh, for the bath.
And all of a sudden, it was like deja vu.
Yeah.
My son's an artist. He went to college in New York City. He does film for like Mary J. Blige, Dave Chappelle. Well, we knew he was an artist when we went into the playroom one day, and around the corner, nobody ever went back to that part. He had just been coloring, and it was just his art zone. And he'd just been with markers. And you know what? We left it till we remodeled, we had to rip that out. I wish I had that piece of sheetrock. But it's funny because when I saw her, I'm like, oh my gosh, keep doing that. Keep doing that. That's why he was so successful.
Yeah.
But you need a art outlet. But that's when I think about Play-Doh. I think about coloring on the walls. Oh my gosh.
But also thinking outside the box. She's coloring on the walls in the bathtub. Your son did it on the wall where clearly he could have just gone and gotten paper and a crayon and did that. But he said, you know what? This is going to be different. I'm going to do the wall. And that's exactly my point here is thinking outside the box to do certain things. And sometimes the best retirement plans come from thinking outside the box. Steve, give me some examples of maybe mistakes people have made when they assume there's only one right way to retire.
Well, I think that's interesting, Jess. People that don't know what they don't know, that don't think outside the box. People would come see us early on when I was in the business in the 80s, and they were Phillips retirees. I worked with so many, and they had this huge pension. And they're like, oh my gosh, but they were retiring early. Phillips had a huge package for people at 55. And they were like, oh, I have this huge pension. I never need to worry. And I said, wait a minute. The inflation is the silent killer. This money, you're going to have that amount, but it's not going to be worth much in 20 years. Oh, I'll be fine. I'm just going to start taking from my 401k, or if I roll it to an IRA, I'm just going to take withdrawals. They didn't know about having lifetime income. I had some people come back to see me 10 or 15 years later that wanted to do it their way, and their way was not the right way, and it was too late to take that nest egg and put it on ice for lifetime income. And it really wrecked their retirement. I have one of them that came, and we made it work, and all three of their children now are our clients because we figured out those little things. One of the things that happened about that is that back in the day, CDs were 20%. They got down to less than 1%. So all of a sudden, people thought those CDs were going to be great. No, they needed a lifetime income strategy that they or their wife could not outlive. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes in retirement.
Yeah, and something else to think about, guys, is there's not just one right way to retire, just like there's not one right way to make a financial and retirement plan. Everybody's situation is different. Your wants, your needs, your desires, all those things are different. So you have to think, I know we've really been trained in doctrine to, okay, you save your money, you get a 401k, you get Social Security, you enter retirement, have a good one. But there's more to that. As you mentioned, guaranteed income opportunities there. Maybe you need to look at your risk tolerance within your portfolio. So there's not just, these ingredients make up everyone's retirement, guys. That's what we're talking about, thinking outside the box.
I think just one of the big mistakes I see people doing, thinking the only way to do it is the only way to save money is in the company plan. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I'm going to plow money into my 401k. I'm going to put everything on there. And then they come see me and say, we got our kids through college and now I want to buy them a house. I want to give them 20% down to buy a house. And they don't have any money outside that qualified plan. They're 54 years old. All of a sudden, the taxes and the pre-59.5 penalty is going to wipe them out. So I think it's so important for people to save and get that bump up, that match for the employer. But I think it's so important to save outside those plans. Have you ever heard cash is king?
I sure have.
Well, it is. You can be saving systematically every month to, one of our strategies, a bank. A lot of people will save it up, get 30 or 40,000, then they bring it to us. Then they start over. But I'm going to tell you, having diversification, having liquidity, having money outside the company plan is about options. And just as there's one thing that I've learned in my past 30 years about retirement is retirees need options in retirement. If they don't, they're going to get wiped out by one mistake.
Planning for your retirement can be overwhelming. As we talk about here, there's so many different moving parts, from how you should save and accumulate and distribute to, oh my gosh, the tax law changes or what's going on with Social Security. And then you look at really who is actually working with professionals. And this is what I mean. The vast majority of Americans say financial professionals are a top source for guidance on their money, yet only 38% work with a financial advisor. That's 38%, guys. So that means the remainder 62% of you guys aren't working with one, hoping for the best, most likely, kicking the can down the road, as we say. What is your advice to somebody who maybe is thinking about working with a financial professional? What are some things that we need to know before we sit down with somebody like you?
Well, I think first off, Jess, people think because they have a 401k that has money in it, that's a retirement plan. That is not a retirement plan. They need to really rethink what retirement is going to look like for them. I think one of the things that's so important is to work with someone that is working in that arena of retirement. It's everything. There's so many different people out there managing money. But I'm going to tell you, Jess, would you leave something that is important to the last whole phase of your life to not knowing? It's crazy.
No way.
It's crazy. So, when you think about retirement, you need to find somebody that specializes in that retirement arena. It's so incredible. Jess, I really focus on retirement. Our whole team does. When you think about having a tax plan, an income plan, an investment strategy, all of a sudden healthcare, If you don't plan for health care, it can wipe out your retirement. All of those things are devils in the details that you need to take care of, and we help people do that. Because what I find is just people are so close to it. They've been so busy in phase one, which we call accumulation, that they don't know what they don't know. And if you just start taking money out every month, every year out of your retirement funds, it's going to wipe you out. You're going to run out of money, and you don't want that to happen.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derek or a member of the Hoyl Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyl Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyl, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyl is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyl is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.